friends and family. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a makeshift video from the sleeper. I'm on sleeper bird status, but I'm quickly throwing together a video. I'm trying to help out Courtney over at Trucking Out the Box. I saw a video where he just put a new mentee on the road, basically someone that he is helping, dispatching, and somewhat mentoring and guiding, right? I saw a video where he posted it up. They came by his house with their truck, and they're getting on the road. They picked up some stuff from him, and he made a comment that got my attention. So I posed a question on his wall, and I've done that before, and he's always been very responsive and polite, even though I think one time I pointed out that they were wrong, and he was like, hey man, I appreciate that, we're still learning, and any advice we appreciate. And so he's always been receptive and very professional in his responses. And so I'm trying to put together this video really quickly because I put that on there, and then he replied with a link to somebody else's video, and unfortunately that person is incorrect in their interpretation of the rule. Literally, the person reads the rule and then changes the words on his own. He's changing the terminology. So I'm gonna try and put together a quick video where we look at what the rule states, and the terminology is being swapped, and I'm doing this to help Courtney hopefully not get his mentee in trouble, because a violation of this type, a violation where you are doing something wrong, let's say you're putting something incorrectly in your logbook, each entry is like a $500 violation for falsifying a log entry. When they look at you and you have an entire week of every day doing it, they can step up the severity of that violation and put a really big impact on your CSA score, so much so that your insurance company may not renew you at your next renewal because your CSA score gets so bad. Case in point, I had a friend go work for another company. He was a driver of mine, and he went to work somewhere else. He was told that they can use personal conveyance when they move from one place to another. Now, this is not something Courtney is promoting. This is something separate, but I'm giving the example. So this person moved like 4 different times between loads using personal conveyance, and I'm being told they are charging him with a felony count, which I thought was really weird, but the total in citations came out to $5,800. I've never heard of this. I'm kind of waiting to see when he goes to court what documentation they actually give him, and if he'll share it with me. I hope to make a video and show you guys it's a serious business. Anyways, so I'm trying to put this video quickly together, mainly because if I try and type an answer on Courtney's page, or his video comment section, I should say, it's going to be difficult to like explain it in a way that makes sense, just because it's a lot of verbiage. So hopefully I can put something together and show you guys why that's incorrect, and hopefully it helps him. He's got a very successful YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure most of my subscribers have seen it and probably follow him too. Like I've said before, I can see who you guys watch on my analyticals, and a lot of you that are subscribed to me are also subscribed to them. This is it's an example of why I tell you guys, regardless to who says it, if it's me, if it's somebody else, in this case, Trucking Out the Box is referencing what another trucker posted, and unfortunately he got it wrong. And so Trucking Out the Box is following that person's, let's just say, advice on YouTube channel. And I always say to you guys, it doesn't matter who said it. If it's me, if it's Trucking Out the Box, if it's Trucking Out the Box referencing somebody else, you guys need to pull up the regulation, read it for yourself. I'm going to post it here. I'm going to show you guys a manual I suggest you all get. They reference the Green Book, as they call it. It's a J.J. Keller product. J.J. Keller is a third party. They are reprinting what is on the FMCSA website. I have a copy in the truck because it's a requirement that you have some sort of guide, and that book is small and convenient, but I really don't reference it very often. I tend to go to the FMCSA website directly, or the E page where the FCRs are at. Anyways, I'm gonna post up a clip here, show you guys kind of what was said, and this is not picking on them. It's not trying to start a fight with them. This is intended to help. Those of you that know my videos know my information is intended to help the driver, the carrier, whatever you want to call it. And so you could say it's kind of a collaboration. It's not really collaboration because he didn't say, hey man, make a video for me. So, but it's not intended in malice whatsoever. Check it out. Hopefully it helps you guys, and hopefully Courtney, if you watch this, if you actually watch it, my little channel doesn't compare to yours, brother, but you know, hopefully this helps you, bro. All right, guys, so this is the manual that I favor. Separate from having a copy of the Green Book, this manual breaks things down a little bit simpler, easier to understand. The problem with the Green Book, and even going to the federal website, usually when they say, you know, this is your code, you know, 395.2 or whatever it may be, and you start reading it, halfway through there, it references another one. And then you click on that and you go to that one and it references two more. And so before you know it, you have to read and understand like 4 different codes to make total sense out of a single rule. And the beauty about this particular manual, I recommend both to Courtney over at Trucking Out the Box and to anyone that follows me, anyone that follows him. This is the book you want to get, guys. Download this from the FMCSA's website. Literally, if you do a Google search for Interstate Truck Driver's Guide to Hours of Service and then include the letters FMCSA, it should take you to a link to this particular PDF file. Download it. I keep a printed copy with me at all times, along with a copy of the Green Book, and because I'm hauling hazardous, I also keep a copy of the Emergency Response Guide for different categories of hazardous material. Anyways, so this is the manual. This is what we want to look at. Let's scroll down and find some of the verbiage that's going to help us. This goes into, you know, the basics of, you know, who must comply. You know, it covers what interstate is versus intrastate. It's a really good manual that gives you real basic plain English understanding of the rules, and this is primarily geared and specific to hours of service. This isn't going to tell you how heavy you can be, how long you can be, do you need a CDL. This is specific to hours of service and the rules that we must comply with. This particular manual is already in my phone. It's a little bit older, and so right now I just spotted as I was scrolling, it references 100 air miles. I just missed it, and I scrolled past it. Anyways, here it is. So when the driver drives within 100 air miles, about a year ago they changed that. It's now 150, and so this is not the newest version, but for what we're discussing, this will help. It'll help Courtney, and it'll help anybody else that has a question within regards to this. So let's start with this. What is on-duty time? Okay, and so it starts by telling you your limits, but you know, this is kind of what they're referring to in the other video, and I'll show it. But these are examples of all time that is considered on duty. So all time at a plant terminal, facility, motor carrier, all time spent servicing and conditioning the truck. I see a lot of YouTubers post, I'm on my way to get my truck washed, or I'm about to go get it serviced, and then I got a load tonight. Technically, legally, all the time spent getting that truck ready, even though we all cheat that one, that's on duty time, not off duty. And I'll admit, I've done 34-hour resets at home, and I'll grab myself, a 6-pack of beer, park the truck in the driveway, and I clean out the inside of the truck while I'm having a couple cold ones. I even have a little video of my son helping me. Anyway, so we're looking for where it tells us the part that I believe the other gentleman got incorrect. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to put it at the top. So he reads this, and then he goes on to change it to fit his own narrative. And so I'll jump to his video in a minute. Courtney sent me a link, and the gentleman, like I say, he reads this, and so here we go. It says, all other time, and this is what is considered on duty, okay? This is not an exclusion. So, all other time in a commercial motor vehicle other than time spent resting. So the time spent resting in a parked commercial vehicle is off duty. Except as otherwise provided in this section, part 397.5 of the regulation, time spent resting in a sleeper berth. Now that pretty much means you have to have a approved sleeper berth. Then it says up to 2 hours riding in the passenger seat of a property carrying vehicle moving on the highway immediately before or after at least 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. Now, this rule, or this publication, they call it, is older. So now they changed it. You can do the sleeper berth split as a 8 and 2 or a 3 and 7. And so technically you could do 3 hours. That's why they're discussing 3 in the video. You can do 3 hours, and then you have to go to sleeper berth. But nowhere in this does it state that you can go on duty or go off duty. This specifically says it has to be immediately before or after sleeper berth. There is only the phrase sleeper berth. Nowhere does it state the driver can go off duty. In fact, if you go off duty after that period of time, you're in violation. You have to go. In other words, if you exit the truck after that 2-hour window, it's a violation. You have to go into sleeper berth mode and do 8 hours or 7 hours consecutive, or it's a violation. And so what this gentleman states, that, you have to make a move, we'll go to his video right now, but his idea that you have to jump into another status, you can only move to sleeper berth, and if you don't have a sleeper berth, you're in violation. All right, so now we're back at the video that Courtney referenced. This gentleman appears to try and explain the regulation. Now, he's reading it out of the Green Book, which, he's going to read word for word exactly how the code, exactly how you will find it on the FMCSA's website, because that's what J.J. Keller does. They take word for word and basically reprint it into a handy little book that you can carry in your truck, and it's you can pick it up at any truck stop for just a handful of bucks, and you should have this information with you. Anyways, let's hear what he's got to say. I just read you guys the same section, but watch what he does with it.
It says, all time in or on a commercial commercial motor vehicle, right? So all time in or on a commercial vehicle is considered on duty, but then it says other than. So this other than is saying if you do these things in a commercial vehicle, you are off duty, because it says all time in or on a commercial motor vehicle other than. So it's talking about you do these things that falls under the other than, you're off duty inside this commercial vehicle, right? So the first one, it says, the first example, it says time spent resting in or on a parked vehicle, right? Time spent resting in or on a parked vehicle, right? They saying this is off duty dealing with this commercial vehicle, right? The second one they say is time spent resting in a sleeper berth, right? So if you're in the sleeper berth, whether the vehicle is moving or is parked, you are off duty. The third one, this is for us. This is my proof, right? It says up to 3 hours riding in the passenger seat of a property carrying vehicle moving on the highway immediately before or after a period of at least 7 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. So it says up to 3 hours riding in the passenger seat, moving on the highway before or after at least 7 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. So let's break this down, right? They saying that you can sit in that seat, because we still fall under the other than category, right? It says so you can sit in that seat for up to 3 hours riding in the passenger seat, right? And be considered off duty, whether it's before your shift or after your shift, right?
It does not say whether it's before your shift or after your shift. He's pulling this out of his own mind. It says immediately before or after sleeper berth. Sleeper berth has its own legal requirements. You cannot use sleeper berth if you do not have one. He's making this part up to fit his own wants. The regulation did not say anything about a shift.
You sit in that seat for 3 hours. Then you have to bust a move, Cletus. Bust a move, Cletus. Bust a move. So you busting this move has to be either you going into the sleeper berth or the vehicle stopping. You know, y'all stop right there. You just go off duty. But or you go on duty. You gotta bust a move after that 3 hours. So going back to the box trucks without the sleeper berth, the only way, it's only 2 options you got. The first move you can bust is go on duty, right? The second move you can bust is stop the vehicle. You know what I mean? Stop the vehicle right then and there. So what are you gonna do?
You can't do either or, because the only thing you can do, if you read what I posted, which is exactly what he stated, it has to be immediately before or after 7 consecutive hours of sleeper berth. If you don't have the 7 hours of sleeper berth before or after, you cannot use that exemption. I'll show you why. All right, so we're back over at the manual I showed you guys earlier. This is the PDF, and I've oriented the phone this way because for some reason my screen recorder won't work when I turn the PDF sideways. So we've covered this part where the gentleman took verbiage and kind of modified it to fit what he wants. So let's go from where he's taking, what is on duty time. Let's come down and look at it when it's specified here. On duty time in a commercial motor vehicle. Okay? So this is where this manual comes in really handy, because it breaks things down in a more simplified version, I guess is a way to put it. And I'm not trying to say that anyone is dumb because they can't read the other stuff on the FMCSA website. Guys, I favor this manual because it's plain English. It makes it very easy to help keep us all out of trouble. So, okay, this one's going to kind of break it down, and it's going to point right at it. So, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, excludes from the definition of on-duty time any time resting in a parked commercial motor vehicle with the driver relieved of all responsibility for the vehicle. The reason for that statement is for your hotshot guys and for the guys and gals that are driving these box trucks that sleep in the driver's cab portion without a sleeper. A lot of people used to believe that if you're in the driver's seat, you have to be on duty. It's an old wives' tale, and this statement debunks that as long as the vehicle is parked and you're relieved of all duty. So that's not the gist of this particular video. We're talking about the 2 hours. So the very next statement, also excluded is up to 2 hours in the passenger seat of a moving commercial motor vehicle immediately before or after 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. The rule continues to require drivers take 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. So let's put that in context. As the gentleman said, let's break that down. The rule continues to require drivers to take 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. So what that means is if you take your hours in that passenger seat, you have to take sleeper berth time immediately before or after. There is no getting around it. You cannot sit in that passenger seat for the entire 10 hours. You cannot walk away from the truck and go off duty, although I find it hard to believe anyone would cite you for that. But you have to have the sleeper berth accessible. And so what I particularly do, like right now, if I decide to go jump up in the front seat, I just leave myself on sleeper berth status if I want to go sit up there and, just sit up for a little bit and not be in the bunk. And so, okay, let's move on from that concept and say, okay, the rule continues to require drivers to take 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth and allows them to take an additional 2 hours in the passenger seat when the vehicle is moving, without artificially confining them to the sleeper berth for the entire 10-hour period. So the nature of this rule is you have a sleeper berth, but you don't want to be confined to the back. I'm sitting in the back right now, and my co-driver's up front. He's listening to talk radio, and I can sit back here and make my videos to chit chat with you guys, but I'm not confined to this space. At the beginning of my break, I can sit up there for 2 hours, maybe give him directions, how to get out of where I just dropped him off or whatever. And actually giving him directions would mean I'm on duty, technically. So I didn't say that. Anyways, this statement, I think, clarifies the requirement for a sleeper berth. You cannot take the exemption in that passenger seat without a sleeper berth present on your vehicle. Not only does it have to be present on the vehicle, you have to take conjoined to that time. In other words, as soon as that off-duty time in the passenger seat ends, you have to take the sleeper berth time. Now, that doesn't mean the two drivers cannot share drive duties, but the idea that one driver is going to get 11 hours and the other driver is going to get 3 does not work either. And I'll try and give a quick explanation without a graphic or anything, but let's just say the truck is starting at midnight for the sake of we can keep the hours in our mind, right? So you technically have to log on duty for 10, 15, 20 minutes to claim you have done your pre-trip. If you go straight from off-duty time to driving and you get inspected, you're going to get asked, when did you do your pre-trip? If you say, I did it right before I drove, that's a violation. They're going to claim that you falsified an entry in your logbook. You get 2 or 3 of them in the same 70-hour period, and not only is it an out of service, but like I said before, I had a friend now claiming that he's being charged with a felony. It gets escalated to a more serious violation. So, okay. So now driver A starts doing his pre-trip. Driver B cannot be off duty because he's been required to be there. If we read the definition of on duty, he is required to be there now. So they've both gone on duty at midnight. So driver A and driver B are both on duty the first 15 minutes of the day, and they did 0 driving. So within the first 8 hours of driver A driving, he has to stop and take a half-hour break. So when he stops and takes that half-hour break, whether he stays on duty or goes off duty isn't gonna matter because the 14-hour clock is still ticking. So by the time you've cleared that, you've accomplished 8 hours of driving, but you've needed to take 8 hours and 45 minutes of your 14-hour clock because the pre-trip inspection and the half-hour mandatory break. So we're almost at 9 hours now. So move forward, the driver runs out of his 11 hours, but we're actually not at hour 11. We're at 11 hour and 45 minutes because driver A did his pre-trip and took his half-hour lunch. Driver B now has to come on and do his pre-trip. So let's say driver B takes, another 15 minutes. So now you've lost an entire hour. Now we're at hour 12 of the day. So we're at noon, and 14 hours is going to be up at 2 o'clock. So you're not gaining 3 hours worth of drive time, you're gaining 2. So now at 2 in the afternoon, both drivers are out of 14 hours and neither one of them can drive until midnight again. You cannot be in the passenger seat off duty, as we've just read. That exclusion only works if you're going to go to a sleeper berth. The time has to include sleeper berth, which you cannot do in a box truck without a sleeper berth. I hope I explained that well. You guys can download this information yourselves. I'll see if I can't put the link in the description. And Courtney, brother, if you want to reach out to me and snap a little bit about this, you can reach me at Miguel.T.Garcia.7 at Instagram. Shoot me your number, brother, and I'll walk you through it. We can chit chat. Always willing to help other people out. There's actually a couple YouTubers that I help. I don't charge anything. That's not my style. I just want to help everybody be safe and do the right thing. My subscribers You know, they're here for the freebies. that's the crowd I run with, bro. Anyways, guys, this is a friendly video. It's not one of those throwing rocks, starting drama kind of thing. I'm trying to help the man out. He and his wife have a really successful YouTube channel. And for as much as I say it all the time, you know, it's a lot of work. You know, I sometimes fall off the face of the planet because I just don't have time to put these videos up. And they put videos out weekly, sometimes daily. It's a lot of grind. Anyways, I hope this is helpful to everyone. The rules can be confusing, intimidating, don't know what word you want to use. This manual helped me a lot, even though I'd been doing this for years. What it really did is it helped me explain it to my drivers in a simplified manner. Anyways, as always, everyone, thanks for watching.